He is the head coach of Lipscomb Academy Football, and he is also the head coach at Elite 11, and he's also one of my favorite people on the planet. He is Trent Dilfer here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Trent?
Well, I'll take that last bio intro as my favorite of the three.
Is that right? The fact that I'm one of your favorite people on the planet?
Yes. Yes. I'm usually one of people's most hated people on the planet.
Why?
So it's nice
what are you talking about, Trent? Come on now.
I'm just kidding.
Come on now.
What's happening, brother?
It's good to chat with you. It's good to see you. Let's just start macro here. What went through your mind as you watched Tampa Bay win the Super Bowl, Trent, from back in your day? Let's just go that way. What did you think of when you saw that? Were you pleased, conflicted, happy?
No, I was super happy.
Okay, good to hear that.
Super jacked.
Okay.
I really, you know how I look at the game. I try to learn through watching the game, and I thought it was a great exercise in learning how much a team can evolve and grow and get better as the year goes on. You know, you go to your talk show, I'm guessing in weeks. When was their bye week? They got beat by New Orleans. Was that week 9, I think?
No, yeah. And then we were talking about it yesterday that, I picked Tampa to win it all before the season. And then on game day morning, I had an opportunity to mulligan on Thanksgiving. And that was the weekend they were 7-4 going into take on the Chiefs. And I hopped off them. And then they had to bye the next week.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, because they weren't great. They were talented, but not great, and it hadn't fit yet. It hadn't clicked. I don't think they knew who they were. So I watched it that second half of the season just saying, okay, something happened over the bye week. There was a come to Jesus. There was Tom Brady finally opened his mouth and said, no, this is the way we're going to be great. Going from talented to great, we're going to start doing the little, ugly, boring, monotonous things. Well, we're going to clean up some of our scheme stuff. We're going to kind of find our identity. And it was pretty amazing watching them grow, after that point, how, one, they became much more stubborn with the run game. So you got to give the play callers a lot of credit, because when you have those types of weapons, it's hard to call boring runs. It's hard to be patient getting 2.5, 3.5 yards to carry on first down. They started utilizing more tight ends. They added tight ends into protection. So where they were 5, 6-man protections, they became 6, 7-man protections. So adding an extra guy into protection. Brady, all of a sudden, you saw his normal calmness come back in the pocket, which you didn't see in the New Orleans game early on in the year. And then even further than that, then what they do off those boring things, they actually became very, very creative. They kind of found this new way of playing offensive football having really cool sizzly plays off really boring stuff. So they sucker you with the boring stuff, and then they flash and sizzle you with the explosive stuff. And while all this is going on, they are growing as a defense.
Sure are.
And they're becoming nastier and nastier, stronger, healthier at the end, getting some of their big guys back up front, playing more snaps. That the young linebacker White's playing as good as anybody else. Their veteran linebackers are playing good. Secondary, they start growing. They start playing more stuff. What they did to Green Bay is one of the great secondary game plans I've seen in a long time. And they just evolved. And I guess long-winded way of saying, I really appreciated that the NFL, in the midst of the craziest year of all of our lives, no OTAs, really no training camp, that they took the long tail approach. And to win a Super Bowl, they said, hey, we got to not flinch when bad things happen, use them as learning lessons, grow, and make sure we're getting better every single day. And with this group of people and with the greatest player that's ever played, by the end, we should be able to finish this race.
And you, more than anybody, know how difficult it is to get to a Super Bowl and win it, and what it means to actually win it, and what it means for your resume. 7 is insane. And the fact that we can sit here and say 8 is absolutely in the realm of possibility, if not more likely than not, is insane. It's insane.
I just keep coming up with arbitrary numbers. I'm like, yeah, he's won 13 Super Bowls, and nobody flinches. Or, yeah, he might win 20, and nobody really flinches. Just having fun with it. Like, it's mind-boggling. You can't really comprehend what an incredible achievement this has been for Tom Brady.
And do you think it's messing with the heads of others, like Rodgers, what he said after the championship game about wondering about his future because he saw Brady walk into a new team, do it his way, or know that there's a way other than the one that he's only known. Russell Wilson sitting here saying what he's thinking what he's thinking. Do you think it's messed with other quarterbacks' brains, what Brady's done?
I think it's messed with everybody in the NFL's brains. I think it's messed with GMs that have done great jobs and never won one. I think it messes with coaches that think their process is as good as anybody's, and they haven't won one. I think it messes with guys that have won one but think they were going to win 3 or 4. I think it makes the league knee-jerk react. I'd say that. I think that's the greatest impact Tom Brady's 7 Super Bowls now have, is it makes the rest of the league knee-jerk react and make decisions that probably aren't long-tail decisions because they don't understand it. And I think anybody that says they understand how he's done this is showing their ignorance in that statement. I don't think any of us know how he's done this because it's never been done before. I think there's one person that knows how he's done this, and his name's Tom Brady. And maybe his dad, because he tells his dad everything.
That's right. That's the keeper of the secrets. I've got Super Bowl champion and Lipscomb Academy football head coach, Elite 11 football head coach Trent Dilfer here on the Rich Eisen Show. While we're on the subject of knee-jerk reactions, I'm sure you have heard the narrative that Justin Herbert's better than Tua, and that's the way it should have been viewed by everyone in the draft, and that's the way it's only going to be. And I know you're a Tua guy, so I'll give you the floor. And you were laughing already, but I am not stuttering when I am saying that is a significant narrative that is bouncing around the NFL and its media right now.
Well, I think it's true right now, but does it matter right now? Does it matter right now that Justin Herbert, Tua, and Burrow all lost a bunch of games? Because really the thing's about winning or losing, not who throws the most yards, looks the best, who wins Rookie of the Year. Like right now, absolutely. Justin Herbert was fantastic. I'd argue he's one of the best rookies we've seen in the last 20 years, play quarterback. Peyton Manning threw 20 interceptions his rookie year. How many of us thought after Peyton's rookie year, oh, he stinks, he threw 20 interceptions, he's never going to fix this? Hasselbeck and I used to watch Peyton's rookie film when we were just studying offense and be like, ooh, he's got a lot of learning to do. Like, ooh, we're not sure about this guy. This is Peyton Manning, and he's one of the greatest of all time. So let's let this thing breathe for a few years. Let's let their teams figure out who they are. Let's see what they're surrounded with. Now, Justin's got to go through a new head coach, new offensive system. Let's see how that goes. What really matters is who's the best in 3 or 4 years and who has a chance to take their team to a Super Bowl in the first contract, because that's really now the new measuring stick for these young quarterbacks is, while you are cheap, can your team use those assets, use that money they're eventually going to have to pay you to pay others to help you get to the Super Bowl? And are you good enough if we surround you with enough good people to take you to allow you to take us to a Super Bowl? So Russell Wilson, like, you got to go now. If you're one of these rookie top picks, your goal is, before I get my next contract, I need to get my team to a Super Bowl, because they're taking all this money that they're eventually going to pay me, and they're giving it to the left tackle, the kind of the extra receiver that you really don't need, but you could have, that third safety player, that third secondary player that you really don't need, but you can pay, and now you have more depth, that Jadeveon Clowney presence in free agency that's going to demand a big number, but it's a game record. J.J. Watt is another example of that, going to Arizona. Like, can you take us to a Super Bowl while you're cheap? Let's wait and see who does that between Burrow, Herbert, and Tua before we get on our soapbox and saying, oh, yeah, we should have had him higher. And by the way, I'd also challenge all those guys, because I was on all the same shows as them, yours being one of them, is if they were so right, why didn't they have number one on the board? Like, listen, this thing is fluid. All 3 were really good prospects. And I think the guys I respect the most, the Daniel Jeremiahs, the guys like that, that's how they presented it, is great prospects. Let's see where they fit. Let's see what organizations they go to. Let's see who they're surrounded by. Let's see their circumstances before we start saying who's going to be the best. They have different traits. Like, Joe Burrow's not as talented as Tua and Herbert, but he processes faster. Herbert has more horsepower and twitch than both of them. It paid off his first year. Let's see how, as this thing grows, it goes. Tua has the best instincts of the 3. He didn't really get to use those instincts the first year. Maybe now he's in a system that unleashes him a little bit more. I don't know, but let's at least let this thing play out.
So then what would you counsel to or have about year two? While he also no doubt goes through the conversation that Darnold is hearing, which is like, boy, well, Darnold, I think, has heard a ton of stuff, but we'll send you to Houston if the Texans eventually decide Watson doesn't really want to play for them anymore. I mean, what would you counsel Tua, who's no doubt hearing all of that out of Dolphins fans, I'd imagine?
Same thing I counsel a 17-year-old that's frustrated they only caught 4 balls instead of 10 because he's an all-state wide receiver. Trust the process. Handle the process well. Take care of your business. Control what you can control. You can't control that Coach Dilfer called a terrible game in the state championship game. That's not your fault. You did your job when you were asked to do your job. The rest is on Coach Dilfer. So Tua can't control what the organization does. He can't control who they draft if he ends up staying there. He can't control if they draft big guys on the defense side of the ball or twitchy, fast guys on the offense side of the ball. He can control his process. He can be grinding in the offseason. He can look at his tape and say, ooh, this is something I didn't do very good. I got to get better at this and go to work at it. He can look at his tape and say, oh, I did this pretty well. I'm going to pat myself on the back and say, I'm going to build off of this. These are some positives. But if you don't take a process-driven approach to this thing and you start worrying about all the things you can control, yeah, he'll end up the worst of the three. But if he handles his business well and continues to do his thing the best he can do it and control what he can control, good things will happen.
Trent Dilfer, a few more minutes left with him here on the Rich Eisen Show. What do you think the Jets should do? And that's kind of a way that I can throw everything in together, how you evaluate the quarterback class with Zach Wilson and what you think of Darnold and knowing the scheme that Robert Saleh's bringing in and what options there might be available to other teams to go get Darnold, what his fit might be best. I'll just throw that out as an omnibus through the concept of what you think the Jets should do right here, Trent Dilfer.
I think, number one, Sam wins regardless. I think that he either stays with the Jets and they get better, and they use their draft capital to get him some talent finally, or they choose to take one of these young bucks and move on from Sam, and he goes somewhere that's going to value his skill set. Now, everything I'm hearing, and I'm not nearly as deeply entrenched as I used to be.
Sure.
So the people I'm trusting tell me that this narrative is actually flipped on Sam from underachiever to overachiever, considering what he's been dealing with. I think Sam is very well looked upon amongst NFL circles and how he's handled his business, how he's controlled what he could control, how his high ceiling plays that he showed the ability to make and is correcting some of the knucklehead stuff he did his first year. I think all that goes over really well with NFL teams that would rather have a seasoned vet than draft a new guy. So I think he wins overall. He's also starting to stack up his reps. And this is a conversation that when you talk to other people talking quarterbacks from here on out, start asking this question. How many starts, how many reps being the quarterback have they had from high school to college and now in the NFL? Trevor Lawrence, to me, is a no-brainer, will guaranteed be successful, much like Andrew Luck, because he started 4 years in college. 4 years in high school, 3 years in college. He's won. Well, how many games has he won? I think it's in the hundreds between the two.
Well, we know that's about to say we only know how much he's lost, which means he's won a lot. If you can tell somebody,
so he's got a lot of opportunities of being the quarterback, and the quarterback's more than just taking the snap in the game. It's practice. It's locker room moral authority. It's being that person living the bigness of the quarterback's life off the field. So it's a lot of stuff. So Sam's now just catching up with that. Remember, we found Sam for the Elite 11 when he had a broken ankle after his junior year playing basketball. So we found him off his basketball tape. He hardly played any quarterback in high school. He starts very few games in college. So he's just getting that quarterback rep count to where the best stuff's going to come out, and I think people are starting to understand that stuff. It's one of the questions around Trey. I think Trey Lance is the second most talented. Well, him and Fields, I think, have equal talent in the draft. I think he's wildly talented. I think if he's handled properly, will be a massive success in this draft. Very few times being the quarterback. So you're going to have to make sure he gets those reps. He needs to take almost every preseason rep for probably 2 years. He needs to sit and watch. He needs to get the reps in the classroom and practice. But don't expect Trey Lance to step on the field day one to be successful, because he just has less times being the quarterback than Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields or Wilson Or I guess Mac Jones would fit into that as well as a guy with limited reps, just 1 year starting.
So Zach Wilson, though, would be the guy at second overall. That's what pretty much everybody is thinking right now. And I guess dovetailing to put a button on this entire conversation, back to what you said moments ago about the key is to draft the right guy high up and win a championship while he's cheap, and you can pay everyone else around him, support him, and then make enough of the success to afford the next contract, right? So would you start from scratch with Zach Wilson or rehabilitate Sam Darnold? That's the Joe Douglas question, unless, again, Deshaun Watson drops out of the sky for a way that the Jets feel is amenable. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you framed that well. I think if Deshaun Watson becomes available, every team that doesn't have Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes
right.
should jump at that. I think I would go keeping Darnold. I think he's earned the equity within the organization, the city. I think it's tough to earn people's respect in New York. I think he's done that for the most part. You could tell me otherwise, but I know a lot of Jets fans that the first 2 years, like, oh no, did it wrong again. And now watching him compete and grind and have resolve and grit and understanding how bad they were are like, oh, okay, this guy's surrounded with talent. He's our guy. So I could, for that reason, he's earned the respect and equity of the fan base and the organization. And then I'm not sold. Listen, I like Zach Wilson, so I'm not going to say anything bad about him. I think he's the guaranteed second thing is a little bit of a hogwash. I think you're watching Fields. There's a narrative going around. Everybody's using the media in this cyber warfare world where they're launching messaging. I think people that I've talked to that I really respect and do this a long time really like Fields. The more they watch him, the more they realize how gifted of a passer he is. I think Mac Jones has surprised some people because they love him as the passer. They know he has no second reaction stuff. I think there's teams that aren't quite totally sold on the fact that Wilson wasn't a core captain after being there for 3 years. He was a game day captain, but not a core captain. They have 8 core captains, and he's not one of them after being the quarterback for 3 years. I personally have never heard of that before. So I think this is still early. There's a lot of false narratives out there, and I wouldn't be surprised if this comes off the board after Lawrence a little bit different than people are saying right now.
Trent Dilfer, look for my call in April. You're the man. Appreciate the time. Truly. Always.
You're the best, Rich. See you, bud.
Right back at you. That's Trent Dilfer right here on The Rich Eisen Show. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.